This is awkward. And we're broadcasting.
Hello, everyone.
What was that?
Perfect. You want to be that guy?
Wow.
I have no idea. Am I live?
Yes, you are.
Am I live?
Jesus Christ.
You're all live.
My internet's been acting up. Like that whole intro was all choppy. That's why I was like, what's happening here? But what's up, everybody? Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Codebook, I'm sorry about the tinfoil. I didn't get a chance.
Or a cowboy hat. I don't own one yet.
Yeah.
Or a
Yeah,
We got to
Marriott
change
hat. I
that
don't
for
own
you
one yet.
guys.
Yeah, we will. We'll get it. I'll get a Stetson or something for you.
That would be hilarious. I'm actually surprised, Jaime, as somebody who's from Texas that doesn't own a cowboy hat at all.
Well, I wasn't born in Texas.
I know, but you were there for a time.
Yes, I actually married and produced children over there. So
That's right. You manufactured children.
that's right. Texas made, baby.
Hey, the best of us are from there.
Absolutely, Tim. I'm with you.
That's right. All right. So, welcome everybody. Good morning. It is Friday, January 20th, 2023. The markets right now are pretty much flat. S&P is up only around 6 points. Dow's down slightly. NASDAQ is up 0.5%, which is more than pretty much everybody else, largely in part due to Netflix actually having a really interesting quarter. If you guys want to talk about that, we can, because I thought that was very interesting. Bitcoin also up 267 points, or 1.33% on the heels of Genesis filing for bankruptcy. We're going to be talking about that later in today's show. We also have Binance coming to the rescue on another fraud case. We're going to be discussing that as well, among many other things. So make sure you guys are staying tuned to that. Also, hit that thumbs up if you guys are just falling in here. And Jaime, Tam, Brandon, Don from the Don Fran Show. What's going on?
I need Netflix to tank. That's what's going on.
It ain't happening, bro. Ain't happening.
I'm going to share my charts. Let me show you something real quick. Hang on.
Ooh, I like it. Let's go.
Ooh, I like that.
Don's
Damn,
whipping out the
huh?
candle.
There. That's why. Now send it to the dirt. I don't care that I already sent it right to the zone. Send it right to where I need to go short.
Well,
Break
this
that
all
thing
depends.
down.
Did you short it before the close yesterday?
I actually shorted it a couple of days ago and then added on. My average is 332.
Okay.
So send it.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not worried until it breaks this. Then I'm
What-
out.
What time frame are you looking at here? Meaning in terms of you're shorting it for a quick drop to then exit, or are you looking at a longer term, meaning you're bearish on Netflix?
I'll trail it, so I don't really care if it goes to the floor or just down. Hopefully
Okay.
down here to this. It'd be awesome if it got to 250, but I don't know. Right now, I just went short because it's in the zone. So when that breaks out, I'll put my stop in the green and just trail it.
Fantastic.
So
yeah, Netflix is up 6% pre-market here. It was actually up as much as 9% after hours yesterday on some pretty interesting earnings. So they actually ended up missing earnings expectations, coming in at 12 cents. The expectation was at 45, and revenue came in line. But the kicker here was, and the interesting part that I think could end up playing in Don's favor, is that Reed Hastings is stepping down as CEO, which is crazy. If you guys don't know who Reed Hastings is, he's the co-founder of Netflix. It's almost as if it's like Elon Musk stepping down from Tesla.
Yeah.
You know, Reed Hastings is amazing, brilliant, genius mind that's going to be leaving Netflix, and I just think it sucks. You know, it's almost kind of like, I feel like I don't know. This is kind of one of those things where I feel like, oh, here's another moment where I'm realizing I'm getting old. Because Reed Hastings is no longer going to be. You know, these types of days are coming, right? You know, Elon's not going to be CEO of Tesla forever, and it's kind of like the same thing, or like when Bezos stepped down from Amazon. So that I think could create some uncertainty for the company, so that we might see some bearish movement on that. But the big reason why Netflix is going nuts right now is because the street was expecting no guidance from Netflix at all. And then they come in and let everybody know that they're expecting $8.17 billion in revenue for the quarter. So the street wasn't expecting guidance at all. Netflix says, surprise, we actually have guidance, and it's pretty damn good. So that's why the stock ended up moving up. It's up 100% since May of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I mean, it's a model that works. There's no way around it.
Well, a couple of things with this too, you know, and I don't want to go too far off the rails, but you know, Netflix tanked largely in part due to a drop in subscribers in the first half of last year, and the stock is heavily influenced on subscriber count, and investors usually don't give a shit about what kind of money they're bringing in or the growth on the revenue side of things, and so this quarter they decided to not disclose subscriber growth at all or subscriber count at all. So I found that very interesting.
It means it's low.
Well,
Well-
it's a combination of like go woke, get broke, and then the other part is like, I'm sure Cuties, that whole like pedophile video that they put out happened
Oh,
somewhere
yeah.
around where the subscribers dipped. Tons of people dropped on that because they had like bare-chested little girls in sexual situations who are
Yeah.
like under 10. So like you should lose subscribers for that. That's
First time I dropped an F-bomb on
Depraved.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh, and
there
think
was some.
about it though. Why? Like everybody wants to make Netflix like everybody's leaving because of quality of shows. Like that has nothing to do with it.
No.
Netflix started as a very cheap way to access a massive library of different kinds of films, regardless of what they are. The reason people leave Netflix is 100% because of price. Period. It
Yes.
has nothing to do with quality of new releases. I mean, that's all icing on the cake. I mean, it's expensive now. People used to pay $6 and 3 different people could access your account. Like that's why Netflix grew. It had nothing to do with any show whatsoever.
I agree. With the exception of a few, right? There's a couple of outliers that I think could have brought people to the platform. Shoot, what was that South Korean show that everybody fucking watched last year?
Oh, Squid Games.
Squid
Tiger
Game,
King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tiger. Like there was some that were like, oh, I need to get on Netflix for this. Like,
Yeah,
there were
but that's 15 minutes of fame. You know,
Correct.
like I love Squid Games. Tiger King kept me just as entertained as everybody else. And they have some other good stuff too. But
Yeah.
that is not why you have to subscribe to Netflix. Those are 15 minutes of fame. You subscribe to Netflix because you can watch Goonies or Big Trouble in Little China or Braveheart or Heat or whatever good movie you want to watch at any time for dirt cheap, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
That is what Netflix is. No one is like Netflix. It's cutting edge. No one gives a damn about that.
Right.
It's just access to a library.
No,
That
I
and the Netflix algorithm is absolutely insane. You know, between YouTube, I think it's YouTube 1 and then Netflix 1B when it comes to the algorithms that they've developed in order to push content in front of you that you know that you're going to like, or they know that you're going to like, so that you watch it. And so that keeps you on the platform. So to your point, Tamp, I agree. Price certainly has a lot to do with it. The algorithms too, that keep you watching. If you guys didn't catch my video over on the Chaos, the average watch time from a Netflix subscriber is 2 hours, 45 minutes per day. And during peak times, internet traffic, it takes up 10% of internet traffic during peak times globally. So those are some just astounding numbers,
Yeah.
some crazy numbers. I think one of the big reasons, and you mentioned this, Tamp, was price for sure, but a lot of investors were comparing Netflix growth to the pandemic, which just wasn't fair. When everybody's at home and
There,
watching
has time.
content, right, then you know, of course, you're going to see ridiculous growth. And so comparatively, a lot of people were just watching Netflix and comparing it to the 2020 and 2021. And, you know, as things kind of fell off, you know, that's when the stock had tanked like 70%. So I think that that's one of the big reasons why they ended up not disclosing subscriber growth, because that's just how the stock was being manipulated and moved solely based off of that and not really based off of their fundamentals. Now, fundamentally, it's still expensive, 33 or 35 times next year's earnings. So we'll see what happens this coming quarter now that they've given guidance. But very interesting move from this. When the markets were absolute dog shit all last year, Netflix could have been something that you had gotten into in May and you'd be sitting pretty.
If you got into it in May.
Or after that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you got into May or later, all the way up to now, you would have been feeling pretty good about it.
That is something I want to touch on. You said it's up 100%. And I think a lot of stocks might do that. But I want to leave this chart up here when we talk about it being up 100%, because after the fall, some of these have taken, it's going to take quite a bit. The exaggerated case is Peloton for my traders out there. It's going to need to go up 9,000% to get back to all-time highs. I think it's easy for a lot of people to look at a chart and think, oh, it's going to go back to there. And they just kind of daydream, but then they don't get the mechanics of what it's going to take to actually double and triple and quadruple that market cap to get back to previous levels. So if they did ride something down like this, it's time to put that in the past and just start focusing on the here and now.
Yes.
And then
on the good horses.
Yeah, make some quality picks from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and let's take a look at this too. Like, if you have bought Netflix high, if you bought Netflix, let's just say in the $400 range, and now you're feeling it, it always kind of makes me laugh a little bit when we talk about Amazon during the .com bubble. It took them 10 years to get back to their all-time highs. Mm-hmm. That's if you and you wouldn't have made any money during that time. That's if you didn't dollar cost average or add to those lows. Like, you would have been an idiot if you didn't do something with that position. If you just sold it at the bottom and then didn't add to it at all, that's on you. But you could have made money during after the .com bubble or after 2008 if you just kept dollar cost averaging, like we always talk about with Bitcoin, right? You bought Bitcoin at 69,000 or 68,000 and you haven't added to it since. That's on you to, for waiting around until it gets back to those levels. You could have brought your average way down to these $15,000, $16,000 levels to bring your average down, so you don't have to wait forever for it to get back to those all-time highs.
And remember, dollar cost averaging is the safest way to enter any asset you actually did your research on and believe and understand why it can reverse or why it will continue being profitable or growing. So
that is if it stays on the market. There's a big if there. And I don't say that to fight back or anything, but statistically, you're about to fail just with that comment alone. There's been over 100,000 tickers in existence. Last year, there was over 7,000. This year, there's over 6,000. So there's 94,000 that have all heard that. They've all heard stocks only go up, dollar cost average, and then they disappeared. So you have to pick the right ones if you're going to do that. Well, Bitcoin, I think, is the one, which is why I don't ever fight back on that comment. But you got to be careful doing that, because how long until Peloton's gone? Like Netflix is it still a giant? It's up there. It's a big one.
Going to replace it if there isn't a competitor to replace it?
There is.
Perfect. So that's part of the research, is actually finding the actual competitor of the next generation.
Yeah, and then like Lord Finner says, if it goes down 1%, it has to go 2% back up to break even. Everyone's heard that. If it loses 50%, you now need 100% just to break even.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know, just for the traders out there, I know a lot of them are still stuck on it's got to get to here. And then on the dollar cost average, gotta be careful. But why on some stocks, I get we have the power of hindsight, but it's like, why you could have bought so much more with the same amount of money. Why didn't you just help yourself out on that one?
Right. So what are your thoughts on, let's say you do believe Netflix is going to recover at some point because you're looking at the economics behind it, and the moves it's making. Would you leave whatever entry you did at the top, maybe sell it for tax reasons, but that means you can't buy it, before the end of the year? That means you can't buy it again until
30 days.
30 days, yes. Yeah. So there are ways to play it where this dollar cost average, one, to lower the average of entry from that tippy top down to somewhere in the middle.
Say tippy top again.
Tippy top.
So what are you asking? What is it?
So I guess I'm blending an investor versus an actual trader.
Right. Yeah.
So,
as far as a trader goes, I don't have the wash sale rule. Correct. I don't have to worry about that. I just pay taxes on my wins. And if you are a trader, you should talk to a CPA, because there's something called tax trader status. So we don't have to worry about stupid stuff like that or talk about tax loss harvesting, because that's kind of silly in my world, at least.
It's $25,000 to enter that, isn't it?
What's that?
What's the minimum? What's the requirement to be a trader status?
You have to have the intent of buying and selling for a quick flip to make money. Like you have to be a trader. You can't just make 3 trades in a year and do it. You have to, that's the gray area. You have to show intent that you intend to be a day trader. You only plan on holding it for a little bit for a short-term gain.
Perfect.
And
And
then,
you show that by, let's say, 10 trades, 20 trades, 50 trades a month?
Argue with your IRS agent on that one. Because the rule is the intent there. So it is kind of a gray area.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I guess if you were to come and say, hey, I watch charts every night, every day. This is my plan. I have this much time involved, because that is one of the bullet points for it. But you only took 10 trades. Like, hey, I only had 10 setups this year. That argument needs to be present. It's like any kind of tax write-off or anything. Like,
Yeah.
Could your business actually function without this? Is it a legit write-off?
Yeah.
But it's actually,
So I guess if you have like a terms of service, for lack of a better term, or a blueprint that you could submit ahead of time, this is how I set up my trades, regardless if there's, 2 trades that year or 30 trades that
Right.
year. It would be
Yeah.
easy, I think, to defend like that.
So a swing trader would qualify, do you feel?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
those are high time frames something.
Yeah, but again, I really hate talking about tax stuff, because while there's a gray area on financial advice, there is no gray area on tax stuff. They got that figured out. They know the rules. So definitely talk to a CPA, but mention tax trader status. If he doesn't know what that is, find one that does.
All right.
But we were talking about Netflix. Would I get back in, or what was your, if let's say I entered at the top?
At this moment that you shorted, and you shorted it right at the zone.
Yeah. I actually, typically, if I was in any options contracts, I would have just closed it for a profit, because hang on, let me bring up back extended hours. So I got in the other day at the zone, and then it sold back off, and then I decided to hold it through earnings, which was a coin toss. Now, if it popped back up anywhere else, I would have just closed it. Had it gone any higher, probably would have been closed. But the fact that we ran right into that zone and hung out, that's why I added on to the short position, because that trade still made sense in my eyes. But still as a trade. So I'm hoping it just comes back down. I'll put my stop in the green. So typically, like, that'll break the zone. It'll come down. I'll put my stop there. And then as it comes down further, I'll just scoot it up, and I'll just scoot it up. And if it goes to the floor and Disney takes it over, then I will have just made a picture perfect max profit. Likely the way it looks, though, is it'll end up putting in some kind of higher, like this whole trend would have to break.
Higher lows.
Yeah, so likely it'll make it to that blue zone, and I'll tag out somewhere in here. It'll just be an okay trade.
Perfect. Love it.
I would love to have that conversation about Disney taking over Netflix. I think that's kind of hilarious at this point. If they do end up doing that, it's going to be a decade or better from now. So moving on, I want to actually get back on track with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin here. Jaime, real quick, I want us to pull up the Bitcoin chart, because of what we heard from Genesis overnight. Bitcoin has been holding pretty steady. And wanted to just kind of do a brief overview before we get into some of the other news that we have today.
So I'm zooming in on the 3-day, or even on the daily. You can see that it's hovering ever since it had the run up from the beginning of January to where we are. It's hovering at that point. So even the announcement within this time frame, you saw the announcement of a possible bankruptcy. And there was a very good question posted, by the way, which I'd like to address, by Henry Schenk. What is Genesis? Why does it matter? And to the crypto in the big picture, it would be a little different if it were Gemini, but it isn't. Tim, I don't know if you have any.
Well, we'll address that. We'll address that when we cover the news. I just want you to cover Bitcoin for right now.
So
and then we'll address this question.
On the daily, we do have a bearish divergence way at the top. It did run up on the really stupid indicator, but this one's the stochastic one. Don Fromm, hat tip to you. So it does look like it's settling at this level. Now, if I zoom out on the weekly, we still have the death cross coming in. It's holding still. So everything's still, it's quiet on the Western front of this price action and battle. What will happen next? But we do have quite a bit above us to look out for. Now that I'm moving on the monthly, it's a pretty thick wall of resistance we have from where we are, where it initially collapsed on the Luna. Now we're back at that point. We seem, and as we mentioned at the beginning of the month, this is one of those levels I'm watching where the yellow indicator is will we go above it? But on top of that, we also have the 50 monthly moving average, which is currently at 23,000. If we zoom in on the weekly, we have the death cross coming in, and that is up in the 24,000. So it's anywhere between 23 and 24,000. All that ceiling of resistance. If it breaks through that, bro, I think 42,000 would be the next big ceiling of this caliber we'd be looking at, which is the initial breakdown. And if you zoom out, it's usually where all the bounces occurred in the previous bull run. So 28,000 is a pretty massive ceiling to get through. So there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit to Bitcoin would have to shove through. But currently, it's stable. Now we just got to see what's next, what comes after this. So that's where Bitcoin stands. We're watching it over the weekend, this Friday. Do we come back down and tag the support we had formed, or do we continue moving up? That's going to be all on what we're watching this week.
Can we do a poll real quick? We got 2 days, 10 hours left. Does it close above or below 20,900?
By when? By Monday?
2 days and 10 hours from now.
Yeah, meaning the weekly. So you're referring to the weekly?
Yep. Yeah, look right where you're at.
Yep.
So you see that breakdown, just that red candle right there?
Right there.
Yeah. So we broke down. Everybody got excited, whatever that was, bunch of sell orders, and then nothing happened. We went sideways. This green push up, we are still inside that. Like, that's what I have highlighted on my chart is the weekly hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. We're actually still inside that initial move down.
Correct.
So I think that's our first milestone is even closing above that, because whatever created that sell order, are any sellers still there? Correct. Or what's going on? I think that'll just be the first and foremost the area of attention, because closing inside that, then we just got another inside week.
Absolutely.
I think we still definitely have room for a pullback with consideration to Bitcoin. And until we know exactly what's going on with Genesis and Grayscale, I would expect a pullback until we figure that out completely. So
seems like Bitcoin makes a move and then sits sideways for months.
It does.
It can.
Yes. And this one was a release of quite a bit of pressure on the price action because it seemed dead for a little while. I'd say it's also ready for a pullback. I would not be surprised if it closes precisely where it's at right now. And then a slight pullback the next week.
Right.
And now, if I'm looking for a pullback, it's to test on the daily. We could retest that 200 moving average as support. So 19,500 is maybe where I would see the next drain or roll into for definition. If it breaks back down, okay. I'm looking at the next levels down there at the 15,000 and other range. But if it holds that as support, I think it's pretty safe to now watch it for those 3 months or 6 months you're talking about of doing nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Wake me up when Bitcoin wakes up.
Yeah.
Hey.
We always get excited because like a green candle, like a red candle comes, like it's finally happening. And then nothing. We're just there. We make one stream and then you get to sit for 3 months.
Getting closer.
Yeah.
We're getting closer.
I think we're getting there. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that, Jaime. Really appreciate that. By the way, I think either you or Brandon have their Discord going the F off.
I'm muted.
Okay.
Oh, it's not me either.
I don't know whose it is.
Ruh-roh.
All right, so moving on, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. By the way, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. If you haven't checked us out over on Discord yet, please make sure you do so. The link is down in the description. It's absolutely free to continue our conversation here. We certainly would appreciate it. So make sure you guys are doing that. Hitting that thumbs up if you're enjoying the stream so far. Real quick, I wanted to get into our WTF news of the day, and it has everything to do with this crazy guy who kills his wife and then ends up going on his son's iPad to figure out how to dispose of the body and all this stuff. So if you guys haven't caught this guy's name is Brian Walsh from Massachusetts.
How did he marry this chick, by the way? You see the picture of the wife?
We were talking
She's
about
like-
that off air. Like
She's probably an 8 out of 10. This dude's like a 3 out of 10.
I
So
would
he
say
should not have
4.
been able to bag this chick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He was
literally
live
bagged her
on his
later.
wedding day, like in a tux and everything. Like that. That's the best he ever got was.
Yeah, this guy Brian
I'll
Walsh.
tell you exactly how. Money. That's how that happened.
No, he's
one of the
poor.
searches Was,
He
yeah, one of the
sells fake
searches-
paintings on the internet.
Yeah, like he
Dude,
sells NFTs. This guy
somewhere-
didn't have any money. No, one of
Somewhere
the-
the sucker at least purported or portrayed that he had cash.
Yeah, because one of the things he searched was how long does someone have to be missing before you inherit their stuff?
Well, she had cash.
Dude,
That makes it even
listen
weirder.
to this court.
Yes.
Listen to this prosecutor. This is unreal. This is all the state had to present was this clip.
Which clip is it?
Oh, I'd have to find it. But they go through a timeline of what time he searched Google and what he searched. And it was unbelievable. How long before a body starts to smell? How long before, or how do you keep a body from rotting? How long do you have to wait before inheriting a spouse's insurance? I mean, it was from start to finish, it was about 10 searches that was so damning. I don't think the state had to produce a damn thing else. If I was on that jury, you're just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Not only that, but like if you're the defending attorney, like what are you just like? Listen, bro, like just fucking say you did it. Like can we just move
Say
on?
your son watches CSI or something like that.
Yeah, right.
That's all you got. I hope they don't laugh you out of court.
Yeah.
Dude.
So yeah, that's the other crazy part. So his wife Anna supported the family, including the couple's 3 sons, ages 2 through 6, which just makes it even more terrible. Through their high-powered real estate job. So she was a real estate agent. He didn't really do much of anything. He did plead guilty, actually, to the federal fraud charges that were brought against him in 2021. Will he plead guilty this time around? I don't think he really has a choice at this point.
Yeah. Oh, man. What a clown.
Yeah, what a
Dude, I just heard it. His Barstool Sports posted it. I'll put it in the private chat for you, Brad. It's definitely worth it. There you
The
go.
audio or just
You
the
talk-
Oh yeah. It's worth it. I just stuck it in there for you. It's
All right, let's pull it up here. Hold on one sec, guys.
I'm just
I'll,
glad this guy's so dumb that he like incriminated himself because he deserves every bit of what he gets.
Oh,
one of the kids
100%.
try to blow it up a little and start it over. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Oh shit. I don't know if I added the audio. Bear with me.
Dun dun dun.
Okay, let me stop and reshare.
What if you're the kids? Like they get screwed out of this for sure because now they lose
No.
both their parents.
I
And
know.
all
They find out their dad's a piece of like. I'd want to kill my. I would kill my dad.
At 5:47 a.m. 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. At
Is it about to make a
6:25 a.m. on the 1st, how long for someone to be missing to inherit? At 6:34 a.m. on the 1st, can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m., what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m. on the 1st, how long does being
She's also
Yeah.
bad at Googling
Yeah.
things. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
At 9:59 a.m., can identification be made on partial remains? At 11:34 a.m., dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. At 11:44, how to clean blood from wooden floor. At 11:56 on the 1st, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia?
This is crazy.
1 p.m. is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them?
Incognito mode.
I mean,
This
come
guy is
on.
Absolutely. First of all, do you even need to
It's
Google half
unintelligible.
those questions? Like, do you know what DNA is? What do you think the body part has? Like, how long does DNA last? And can I throw away body parts?
Yeah.
Mouth breather.
Yeah, throw away the forearm. They'll never identify her.
Get the fingers off. You'll never get it.
Yeah, right.
Easy.
Just yank all her teeth.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I hope
Unbelievable.
I hope this guy is he gets a few boyfriends.
Yeah.
He will.
Not only that, but
Oh yeah. That's happening for sure. But anyways, that's your WTF news of the day, guys. That's just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It's not even funny. It's just WTF. Like
Yeah.
it's proper WTF. It's like First off, if you want to save 20% on NordVPN, just kidding. I saw that in someone's comments, and I was like, that's really good.
Seriously. It's a hell of an ad campaign.
How does somebody that stupid even kill his wife? Because I actually saw that and I texted my wife and I said, let's just agree not to do this. I will kill you if you try this. Like, it's not going to happen. Like,
No.
and now I got to explain why you're dead. Like, it'll really ruin my life. So just don't.
It's crazy.
How stupid do you have to be
And
also
ungrateful
to
too.
be married to a woman that's that much more valuable than you are, and then you're just like, I'm going to kill her. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Things are going
She's
good.
way
You know
hotter
that.
than you. She's the moneymaker. You know, she like gave you kids. Like, show that woman some respect, dude. What's wrong with you?
Maybe she's getting her real estate leads unconventionally.
Well, that's too bad. Maybe he can find a new house to
Yeah.
live in.
Then he should have done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Maybe she can find him a new house as a real estate agent. Who knows?
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
God.
It's tragic, whatever, regardless.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm over this.
Yeah, God, unbelievable. So moving on, guys. By the way, if you guys want to check us out, make sure you go check us out over our Discord channel. Our community is growing there, so make sure you go check us out. It's absolutely free to join. The link's down in the description below. Please make sure you're liking, subscribing, as we do go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We talk about WTF news, but we also get into all things crypto. So make sure that you're subscribing, hitting that notification bell to get notified when we do go live. The next news I have for you guys is this FinCEN order against Bitslato. If you guys don't know, is it Bitslato? I don't know what it is, but
There's
Bitslato.
it's a small exchange, and they were accused of laundering $700 million by the U.S. authorities. And Binance actually came to the rescue. The world's largest crypto exchange was named as a counterparty in an order against a little-known cryptocurrency exchange, Bitslato, as I've mentioned. They actually were the heroes on this one, kind of, sort of. They mentioned that they quote, are pleased to have provided substantial assistance in international law enforcement partners in support of this investigation. This exemplifies Binance's commitment to working collaboratively with enforcement partners worldwide. I kind of feel like, and this is me just putting my tinfoil hat on since it is kind of our Conspiracy Friday, that I don't know if it was Bitcoin necessarily that pushed this headline, but you got to wonder, because Binance has kind of not been in the best light lately, that this was something for them to kind of encourage others to push, because Bitslato was just a smaller exchange, them to push to just say, hey guys, we're doing some good things over here. And again, this isn't me poo-pooing on Binance, but I think that because they've kind of have had some bad press lately, this is just kind of like a push to at least paint them in a much better picture. But give me some thoughts on this.
I want to define the bad press though, because in their case, it isn't bad press due to malfeasance or wrongdoing.
Correct.
It's more like, take all your crypto out, so 12 billion goes out. Sexes or centralized exchanges are going to go down. So if I were in their shoes, I'd be like, okay, I actually did participate in helping the FinCEN identify these guys.
Yeah.
This guy, by the way, for the record, was caught in Miami, and he had been laundering stateside and also internationally. And on the recipient side, you had Binance, where things would be sent to do the trade itself or the transaction.
Yeah.
So I think the logistical way I would have gone is FinCEN is reach out to hey Binance, we got this perp, we got this situation, show us the records. And because they have participated with these events, not just the states, they've actually that's how a few others cartels funding had been identified. It's because Binance was on that side. They're very active when it comes to even hacks. There's a hack that they tried to move assets, and they reached out to Huobi and all these other places where they saw these tokens go to and put a stop to it. So they have been constructive. This is not a one-off. This is part of their MO. So actually, it's a good news that comes out. Of course, Bitslato, everybody in the crypto community is like, who the fuck is that? And there were polls where they said, have you ever heard of Bitslato, and instead of yes, no, it's no, 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 no. There was not a yes in there. Never.
This is the Department of Justice just trying to make themselves relevant to people who don't know this space, aren't in this space, and act like they're actually doing something to cover their ass for the absolute fact that they have been doing nothing for so long. So what the DOJ is banking on here is that regular people who have only heard of cryptocurrency because of the recent bad news, the DOJ is trying to paint themselves in a great position that they're protecting users by taking down who? Somebody that no one's heard of? Maybe you've heard of BlockFi, Voyager, Celsius, FTX. Where were you then, Department of Justice, SEC? You were nowhere there.
Right.
You know, you were nowhere there. But then you want to scream from the rooftops that you helped save people from the bad Bitslato guys? Get out of here, man. Get out of here. You are literally proving your worth as worthless. You do nothing with the big giants because you're scared or have no policy in place. You have no authority to regulate. All you could do is try to just keep dollars from being put into this space because it will just go elsewhere because the space does not care about the United States at the end of the day. You know, like, oh, we want the United States, of course, but if the Department of Justice wants to try to regulate people out of this space, they're just going to try to restrict on-ramps for the US dollar. That's all they can do, and they know it. So they want to beat their chest and act like they're protecting users when screw you. There's been billions of dollars lost and things we can still do about some of that money. But instead, you want to wave your damn flag like you're a great protector with Bitslato. Get the hell out of here. This is a big, huge nothing burger story. This doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. It is complete BS. And this is a chihuahua barking, acting like it's a Rottweiler. Get out of here with this.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, that was a good meme.
Exactly.
It's a feather hitting him in the back.
Yeah. Thanks, Department of Justice. I mean, you guys are real freaking helpful.
Yeah, and they act so
Get
quickly.
out of here.
I mean,
Yeah, this is a nothing burger.
I like that the phonetic is DOJ, like dodge, you know, because they're just dodging, doing their job.
Exactly. You're doing nothing and acting like you are. You're a bitch. You're bitch made. You're a wannabe. You are a poser. You are all of the above. Like,
yeah.
Either figure it out. I mean, our government needs to figure something out and just get it right and slam dunk it because they are wrong on everything that makes sense these days. There is nothing that the U.S. government does these days that actually makes sense. I mean, seriously.
You know
I hope our military is tight because that might be the only thing that we're still good at, but who knows?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because this has been par for the course for so long. You know, I know I've been bringing this up a lot lately, but it's kind of been relevant to the whole Bernie Madoff situation and how incompetent the SEC was during all of that, and how they're still incompetent decades later, and like nothing has really changed. I'm really have zero confidence that things are going to change in the future, unfortunately.
I know, and you see the narrative where they're covering their ass. That's all
it is.
They're wagging the
all
dog
it is
and not addressing the problem or allowing people, good players, to get access to an ETF to do. You understand? The reason they're supposed to be there is to actually protect the public. Instead, you see this half-assed. Oh, we got one, guys. Come on, let's announce it. Let's.
And they're announcing it because they believe that everybody is too stupid to know the difference. Right. And those outside of this space, I don't blame them. They don't know any better. But the people inside of the space should be furious at this, you know, and should call it out and let the people who don't have the understanding to know that this is stupid. This is not right. And these are not the people that you want representing this space because they do this sort of BS right here. I mean, come on. This is just the dumbest thing ever.
And meanwhile, when this was announced, all these statistics were coming out that 1/3 of Congress received money from FTX. 1/3.
I gotta get a job with those guys.
I know, right? It's like them, stock market analysts or economists and weathermen. They can all fuck up and be dumb as shit, never get anything right, yet continue to keep their job.
Yeah. Congressman, they make a lot of money though. I do want to say, just for the record, like TAMP's going to be the reason like teachers hate parent-teacher conference. Like something like they just don't shouldn't agree with, and it's just not stopping.
That's actually the funny thing is I actually have a clear respect for authority. You know, like even if I don't agree with you, I still respect you because that's how I was raised, and that's what the woke culture doesn't understand is they are so entitled that they don't think they need to respect any authority whatsoever. They undermine everything. So, you know, parent-teacher conference, I could tell a teacher, like, I don't agree with this, but I appreciate you disciplining my child appropriately. You know, like, I'm actually good with that. That actually makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Great stuff. Great stuff for our conspiracy theory Friday. I love that. Moving on, guys. As promised, the headline for today is this Genesis bankruptcy story. So I wanted to just kind of briefly touch on this. We have somebody who brought up a very interesting question just before we went live regarding the Genesis bankruptcy announcement. I don't think it necessarily came as much of a surprise. So if you guys are looking at Bitcoin and wondering why we're seeing virtually no movement or no reaction from this Genesis bankruptcy, I think part of that is probably because it's already priced in. We kind of expected this to take place. I think there are two reasons why we should perhaps hop on the side of bullishness for Bitcoin, even despite this Genesis bankruptcy. And I'll give you guys the floor in a second, but there's one thing here. Investors in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general are betting more money. The average trade size, according to Barron's, is on major exchanges rose from $700 to $1,100 between January 8th and January 17th, according to crypto data provider Keiko. The second is the dissipation of fear across the market in general. It's kind of like, well, what's next? Crypto fear and greed index was up to 51 on Friday from 45 on Thursday on a scale of 1 to 100, where the signals extreme fear and 100 signals extreme greed. This closely watched index was hit its most optimistic levels this week since early April of 2022, when Bitcoin was exchanging hands at 2.5 times Friday's levels. So those are definitely two areas that we could look at and be like, okay, well, this is a bit encouraging for Bitcoin and really the overall market. So this Genesis, bankruptcy is, again, not really much of a surprise to anybody, but I think also it's just one of those things where investors are just getting tired of all the bad news and they're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna start buying at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer the question on the screen very, very quickly. Gemini is a trading exchange. It's a trading platform for cryptocurrency. That's all it is. Genesis and DCG, the digital currency group, are hedge funds and places where people park their money for retirement. The reason that the latter are a much, much bigger deal in comparison to the trading platform is because of market cap, pure and simple. Genesis and the digital currency group hold a huge market share in the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin space. So them going down is a way bigger deal than Gemini. Gemini is simply just a trading platform that does have market cap, but not anywhere near the other two. And that's the simple reason for it right there.
Right. And Genesis, and for those of you that don't know, the Winklevoss twins are the owners of Gemini and Genesis themselves, and they've had this argument with Digital Group, Crypto Digital Group, in terms of they owe money and all that stuff. Ultimately, it's been shown that no, there are no obligations on behalf of DCG so far. And we have to uncover that down the road of, okay, what did they do with the funds? But the Winklevoss twins, who are the guys that were part of the Facebook debacle, also with Zuckerberg back in the day, if you watched the movie The Network. And now they have another problem coming up in their careers. And in this case, the bankruptcy of Genesis, what happens next? And yet, Bitcoin stays stable. So...
Because there's so much to be determined from this. I mean, I don't know. This to me, I mentioned, at one point yesterday when I saw this tweet and this news, that it almost feels like a last plea for funding instead of an actual formal full Chapter 11. It's almost like one more call for any sort of funding because we're very close to that gap. Like right now, Bitcoin's sitting right above 20,000. We've determined in past streams that if they get right to 24,000, if Bitcoin gets to right about 24,000, all this goes away because everybody will be able to settle debts because that 24,000-ish mark of Bitcoin is where Genesis and Digital Currency Group had to accept debt from 3AC. That was how much the Bitcoin was when they had to accept that. So if Bitcoin goes up another 3-ish, 4-ish thousand, all this goes away. So that is why I say it almost sounds like one more call for funding so that we don't have to do this. I mean, they're real close to getting in the clear.
So, Don, if you were the market maker and you know that there's so many people waiting to dump up there at 24, trapped traders, trapped people, would you allow the price to get up there, or would you just sink it?
Well, market makers are there just to provide the market,
The liquidity.
yeah. So they're neutral.
Now,
They're neutral
crypto,
delta. They stay out of the option.
they're supposed to be neutral on traditional.
Yeah. Would I let them? I guess how would I control that would be my question. Because as a market maker, I'm just providing the market. I'm just collecting my fees from it. If I think everyone at 24K is just going to dump, I would see the order flow. I guess I would know it. How would I control that? I guess would be how I do it. I'd be more worried about that than anything. But I don't know if I have a clear answer because I hear Tam say stuff like that. Like, oh, if it just gets to 24 and it's good, but how many buyers are still going to be at 24 when everyone's looking to sell? Because then it just pops and skips right back down.
Well, that's the thing. It's not so much sell as much as these companies be able to prove their assets are liquid and be able to pay out their like earn investors. So it's not like, oh, it gets to 24 and everybody just sells. It's more paper money. It's more profit and loss on the books. And it's more where the Winklevoss twins can shut everybody up, all their 350,000+ earn customers that are waiting on their yield payments from their Bitcoin, them being able to finally satisfy that, even if it's through a loan, right? They can now justify, we're even in the books. We can accept a loan from somebody else to pay all of our earn customers to shut them up. And now we're all good because on paper we're good. It's more, it's not so much a big, huge sell wall waiting.
Okay. So gets to 24, and that proves what though?
It just proves that they're insolvent. It proves that they can get loans and everything else to as a short-term solution to pay their customers who are caused. The whole reason all this is even started is because the people who have put money into the Gemini trading platform, they park their Bitcoin there expecting to earn like a 6 or 7% return on their Bitcoin. The Winklevoss twins were unable to pay those yields because they're out of money. They're insolvent on paper right now.
Right.
So the Winklevoss twins were hearing all this constantly. Everybody's pissed off. So they deflected the attention to Barry and Digital Currency Group saying, we can't pay you guys as earn users because Barry owes us money and we haven't got it, so we can't pay you. So they just deflected the blame to somebody else.
Right.
Barry's over here saying that has nothing to do with me. That I don't. You guys handle your own stuff, and so it's this big back and forth right now on who owes money where we all know under the table, behind the scenes, business doesn't work for corporations like it does for you and me, where we actually have to have money and give it back and forth. They have all kind of promissory notes, different sort of lending terms, where they can get loans at basically 0% for specific reasons, blah, 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 blah. Once Bitcoin hits that 24-ish thousand mark, all those on paper terms are met. And so they can go somewhere and get promissory notes with very favorable terms to them, pay out the people who are crying and screaming, understandably, that they haven't been paid their yields. Does that make sense?
Yes. And if I show the chart right now on Bitcoin, the level you're speaking of is that big red line of resistance, where which is very close to 24,000. It's within that range. All these bounces, the breakthrough, the bounce, and then the second bounce where we finally broke through, there's a lot to slog through in terms of so many variables. but that would be a hard ceiling, to be honest with you, that 24,000 range line. So show me the chart, I'll tell you the news. That is a pretty hard ceiling we would reach up to, Temp. So it does align. Do we cross it? In my opinion, highly unlikely. We'd have to test it a few times to finally break through, or some massive event. U.S. government accepts Bitcoin.
Right.
Like something really massive for it to really break
Yeah.
through all this layers. That's all. My 2 cents.
So what are your thoughts on, the second part of this, as far as, and we touched on it when you were showing everybody the charts on, and you just kind of hinted around to it a little bit, but the fact that we're seeing, the amount of trades being made since the first of the year, virtually doubling what it was previously, going all the way back to April. Do you think that there's something there, or no? Do you think that the amount of money that people are investing right now compared to what it was over the last 9 months, could that be, despite or in spite of this bankruptcy and just more fallout here? Do you think that that is potentially good news for Bitcoin and the industry itself?
If you're looking for entry, this is good news because you can get it at a cheaper rate. All the miners most of them have capitulated, where they put it out into the market, the Bitcoin they had produced, just trying to cash out. So it's almost like selling the bottom. So where would sell pressure come from, really, is that, let's say this bankruptcy actually goes through, or something massive of that level where this Bitcoin is dumped into the market and there aren't enough buyers. The thing is that there are quite a bit of buyers available in the market, in terms of the ones that are the normal pressure, which is the dollar cost averaging, the people who understand the technology and just consistently put value into the market. But outside of that, who would be the sellers at this moment, unless something just pushes a lot of Bitcoin into the market itself, where there's now surplus with no buyers. So
you're saying at this point, for the most part, anybody who's in Bitcoin right now, I won't say anybody, but generally speaking, anybody who's in Bitcoin right now are the hardcore hodlers that aren't going anywhere despite whatever's going on in the market.
Yes, we're getting down to me, that's the rock bottom. One, the miners themselves, are they still profitable? So that creates a pressure on the price of Bitcoin. And two, are the hardcore hodlers, the one that have been. So one of the big sells, one of the old OGs that had purchased early, like 2014, I think, was Thiel, one of the PayPal guys. He actually got rid of his entire stack way back in April last year, right before the meltdown. And to him, I see him more of a strategic sale. Hey, it's cash out. Let's repurpose or do rebalance or whatever it means. He still owns assets, but Bitcoin, he had stepped out. So the big sellers are out, in my opinion, unless we have a catastrophic bankruptcy that just pushes Bitcoin, but not because Bitcoin has lost its value in terms of what's being built and why it exists. It'll be more of a market condition than it is that Bitcoin as an experiment, as a protocol for money, is failed. So yes, I think it's just sideways for now, a discovery and the halving coming. So if we look at
waiting for the DCG bankruptcy to be clear, if that's even going to happen, and if it is going to happen with the bankruptcy, what does that look like? I think until we get a rock solid reasoning on that, anything is possible.
Absolutely. And legislation coming out, and everything we've been waiting for definition. And we've always defined the green area as the bull zone timing, in terms of time, and usually begins, if you look at the history. I know it's a pain to ask with this chart, but every time there's a halving, there's a run up. Every single time, ever since Bitcoin was ever created, that's usually the case. So, and then we have the bear market time period, which back in November, we just exited, and we scraped the growth S curve, right on schedule. Like everything, if you back out and look at where Bitcoin is, we are where we're scheduled to be, kind of thing, in terms of timing and market price action. This gray area is usually a gray area. Why is it gray? It's a time of discovery, a time of finding footing, a time of, it's the pre-having time period. So we're on schedule, guys. There's not a single, like Brandon yesterday said, do you see my hand shaking? No, it's because we're where we need to be. We just need to find definition. What's happening legislatively speaking, what's happening globally, what's happening with the inflation, everything. Just let's find out what's happening. But
so one thing you just said, Jaime, is that we're turning out of the bear market. So is it your belief that the bear market could essentially be over, and it was over in November?
So to me, the bear, in terms of timing of pressure, let's call it not bear market overall, because if you look at the history of what has transpired in the past in the gray areas, in the gray areas in the past, there's been upward movement, and usually it'll scrape the bottom. So that was back in the 12s. This is in
the bottom of the S curve is what you're referring to.
Yes, the bottom of the S curve. In this other one, you see where there's violent ups, violent down, but overall it's rising. It's a median. The previous bear market, we had the COVID crash right before the halving. So you see some growth, and then it takes a nice little diarrhea all the way almost to that growth S curve. And then we start the rally right after the halving on schedule. So I see you. That's what I mean by discovery. This could go all the way up to this median level, which is at 37,000, or it could not. It's just very difficult. But the overall arc is rising. So I would say the hard bear is gone, but it doesn't preclude you from having a black swan event back down to it. So let's say we enter at this point, we rise, we're like, okay, bear market's done, we're good. And then it'll take a shit right back down to 21,000, for example. That is not unheard of.
Yeah,
but
I think we're definitely in the start of a bull market, one that I believe will go about 750 plus days. But that does not mean that we will not have another pullback. I think we are absolutely due and going to have another pullback.
Right.
How hard that pullback will be, like I said, depends on a lot of variables. The digital currency group, bankruptcy being one of them, probably the biggest one of those factors to see how big of a pullback we will have. I think a pullback is possible, but the overall market, like Jaime said, is absolutely setting up for a very long-term bull market.
Absolutely, which is all the way out to the next peak, takes us out to around June of 2025. So it's good.
Like I said, about 750 days.
Yeah.
That's so just like Netflix, all of you that entered or way up here, this is the time to dollar cost average. So you can come out, exit your trade if it is a trade at a lower price, so you don't have to expect this next top to occur. So there's strategies around all this. If you're shrewd about it, just go to Don Fran, take his course, get them involved. Bro, how do I dollar cost average, or how do I exit, or how do I manage this type of trade? And not financial advice, but do get the knowledge to do it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff today, guys, and good stuff all week. We've had a really good week of coverage in the markets this week, and we certainly appreciate you guys watching and being a part of it as well. If you haven't checked us out over in Discord, that keeps fucking going off, make sure you go check it out down in the link below. It's absolutely free to become part of our community. We'd love to have you guys there, and make sure you like the stream on your way out the door. We certainly would appreciate that as well. And as always, guys, we have to get on to our birthdays. We have this is a late birthday week, or late birthday day. I actually looked over the last 2 days and there wasn't much, but Hakeem Olajuwon is 59. Gina Davis is 66. Actress Gina Davis, if you guys, A League of Their Own, that's what she was in. Billy Ocean, 72. And let's not forget about Lily LeBeau, who's 32. She's best known for Downward Doggy Style hairy muff munchers, fishnets and face hitting, occupy my ass, and saliva sisters. Guys,
Gross.
thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. And make sure you hit that like button on your way out. And as always, until Monday, keep calm and huddle on. Have a great weekend.
Have a good
Wow.
one.
Wow.